Welcome back, dear viewers. You're still watching The Breakfast Show, and in this segment of our program, we will talk about international reports on the performance of the tourism sector here in Egypt, how positive they are and encouraging to tourists. And we are joined today by Mr. Elhamy Zayat. He is a tourism expert. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, sir, there were some reports on the performance of the tourism here in Egypt, and on the top of which was CNN Travel report, which was issued recently and put Egypt on the top of the safest destinations to visit amid pandemic, coronavirus pandemic. How do you read this report?
Well, it's a fact that Egypt is one of the safest destinations. I mean, and it's good that CNN reported it because it has a wide audience and people can listen and hear it. They chose 3 cities out of 25, which is excellent. However, my concern is why they chose Alexandria as #1, whereas Cairo should be #1.
Okay.
By far. I mean, Cairo, Hurghada, for 2 different reasons or 3 different reasons. One, Hurghada is a destination for sea.
Yes.
And you have the corals. So you have a reason. Plus, you have the new museum in Hurghada. Alexandria, Cairo is, of course, it has everything. So, and plus, people can go out by night. They can go to restaurants. They can go, which is not available somewhere else. Alexandria is excellent as a destination. However, it's very seasonal because, you know, in winter it's raining. So the best season, and in summer you have all the Cairenes and the other cities, they go for summer.
Little bit crowded.
It's very crowded. It is extremely crowded. So tourists can really go between September and 15th of November when they start the tempest of the sea and after the 15th of April until the 1st of June. This is what we call in tourism term the shoulder season, because it's in between the 2 seasons. This is when the traffic is okay. This is when you can take people, because I love Alexandria. There are a lot of things to be visited, whether ancient as far as the amphitheater, as far as the underwater. They are trying now to have visits under the water for what they discovered. You know, the palace of Cleopatra and what they discovered near Kite Bay. You know, it's very near. And there was a project to have a visit in a tube. But unfortunately, because they were choosing Alexandria as the summer, you know, the Mediterranean Olympics in 2012. And they had to do something for Alexandria, but unfortunately we had the revolution, so this project was cancelled.
Actually, Alexandria has so many touristic destinations, many historical places.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And Romanian sites. So can you tell us more about these historical places?
Well, as I said, under the water you have the lighthouse, which was one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Yes.
Because we have only 2 left, the pyramids and the lighthouse of Alexandria. It's under the water. This is what I was referring to, that people will either dive, and not everybody can dive.
Yes.
It's not very far, it's 6 meters only. But it's fantastic. And they took some of the objects, they put them near the amphitheater. So this is mostly Greco-Roman city. We have to understand that the Greeks, it started with Alexander the Great. I mean, 332 BC, he planned Alexandria. And it was a very well-planned city. And afterwards, the Arabs selected Rashid because they didn't want the foreign influence. So they took Rashid and they tried to make Rashid more prosperous than Alexandria. But nobody could defeat Alexandria. And of course, it has some museums. Unfortunately, the Greco-Roman Museum is not opened yet. But we have the Museum of the Jewelry, which is fantastic. And then you have the palaces of the king. You have Muntaza, you have Antoniadis as gardens also. You have
Alexandria Library as well.
Absolutely. And Alexandria Library. And we are talking about normal tourists, but also Alexandria is a city for conferences, especially in the dead season, because traffic is easy, and you can take the people because you want them to be confined to the hotel. So we try as much as possible to push Alexandria in the shoulder season, sometimes even in the winter season, because people do not have to go out of the hotel. And you have appropriate meeting facilities, the library, they have beautiful amphitheater for 1,200 people. And you have many of the new hotels, they have a lot of meeting space.
Yes.
And meeting is very lucrative. It brings a lot of money for the country, much more than the normal tourist. So Alexandria has things. I mean, I'm not denying, but I said, I mean, it may be because I'm Cairean, so I think of Cairo as the destination, but we can, but I'm happy anyhow. I'm very pleased that they selected 3 cities.
Also, if we talk about Enjoy Your Winter here in Egypt and this important initiative that was launched by the Ministry of Tourism, to what extent it is encouraging to Egyptians themselves to tour their country? And still we are here in winter, and still we have Luxor and Aswan. Many destinations can be visited by Egyptians in these days. So how can we encourage them to go and respond to this important initiative?
You know, unfortunately for COVID-19, the number of people who travel during the mid-year vacation, for instance, is not comparable to 2019.
Okay.
Despite the fact that the price of the airline went down from 4,000 or 5,000 pounds to 1,500 pounds, which is a big discount.
Yes.
Yet the people did not travel that much to Luxor, because I love Luxor. I think this is really Egypt. But they did not travel as much. Hurghada was luckier because you have Hurghada, you have El Gouna, you have many things there. And Egyptian, this is where it was more successful than Luxor Aswan. Traditionally, Luxor Aswan, between 15th January to 15th February, it was packed by Egyptian. But this year, unfortunately, they didn't travel that much to this area, but rather to Hurghada and Sharm. The whole idea is to repeat this initiative for next summer and to do it early, now. Talk about it in summer, not Luxor Aswan, of course, people will not go to...
Because in summer prices are so high here in Egypt in hotels, and because it's the time of moving and visiting places in Egypt. So do you think that we can make another initiative with cheaper prices in summer?
Absolutely, this is what exactly what I'm saying. Especially now you don't have too many foreign guests. So if you don't have too many foreign guests, all hotels, I'm speaking as a rule of thumb, all of them are willing to give good prices.
Yes.
No, Sharm, unfortunately, Sharm is, we have not, Hurghada is more or less, there is some people who go to Hurghada. And you'll be surprised, Marsa Alam is attracting people. Even Egyptian now, they start hearing about Marsa Alam. The only problem is that it's far. But
maybe with the new infrastructure and trains and speed trains,
oh yes,
it's one of the important achievements here currently taking place in Egypt. The new speed train that will move.
This is one of the greatest
achievements.
Achievement. I mean, I have a discussion all day long to explain this and to explain it overseas.
Yes.
That we have 4,000 kilometers of highway. New highway.
Yes.
And then you see all the bridges and the intercity. You see the circular roads around the cities, not in Cairo only, but you go to Alexandria, you go to Tanta, you'll be surprised from the number of roads. Yes. The only thing I complain about is the signage. It's very small, maybe because I'm too old, so I cannot see it from far, but it has to be a little bit bigger. But the roads are fantastic. This is, if there is an achievement, and this is what brought Germany after the First World War to what it is. It's the roads. And people forget that the roads were built 1930. So this is what made Germany prosper. Because when you make a road, automatically you'll see development on the right and the left, slowly but surely. And you take, for instance, the new road to Elhamy.
Yes.
When I used to go there for the summer vacation 4 years ago, when it was brand new, it was deserted. You were scared to go in this road.
Yes.
Today they have gas stations, you can stop. So it makes a big difference, because then you see life around the road. If there was no road, no life. And then people started reclaiming land around the road, which is another source of income, agriculture.
Yes.
So roads are excellent for any economy, and we need it. Plus, of course, the trains, the high-speed train that will, and they are going very fast. I see it in 6th of October.
Can take you to Aswan in no time.
Yes, yes.
This is good.
Yes. Although I prefer the wagonly. I prefer to sleep and wake up in the early. No, I'm joking, but of course it's very fast, and it would be a replacement for the airplane, or a complement. Those who cannot afford to travel by plane, or who have a phobia, they can't travel by plane, they can travel by train. Hopefully it's going to be a very big plus.
Also, South Sinai welcomed the decision by the Irish government to resume flights to Sharm el-Sheikh and ease travel restrictions. So, sir, to what extent this move will have a positive impact on the industry, will encourage other European countries to do the same?
You know, the countries, that's the key. Because every time I call my friends in Europe, they want to come. They want to travel. They want to go out of their homes. Most of my friends are confined at home. I spoke to many friends in Paris, and they are sick and tired of staying at home. And everybody put on weight because they don't move. Yes, and everything is closed. Restaurants, bars.
Till now?
Yes, till now. So the people are depressed. Plus winter, and you know it's dark, so movies are closed. Only the parks are open. So everything is closed. They want to travel. Now, it's up to the government to allow them to travel. But I have some very good news, very fresh news. One airline from Germany, not the major one, the second one, is going to start scheduled flights to Hurghada. Scheduled means it's not a charter. So they don't wait for it to fill. They will have 2 departures per week, every week. And because there is a community also of German in Hurghada, so they can take Germans or Egyptians from Hurghada to Germany and vice versa. And they plan to expand. So that's good news, because Germany has less restrictions than other countries. So we hope that it will continue. But for instance, we cannot expect the British to travel now because of the quarantine when they get back.
Yes.
So it's up to the government to allow their citizens to travel. It's not for Egypt, it's to travel anywhere. You know, the restrictions are very tough in some countries. And they were thinking, the EU, of imposing restrictions on on countries like the Czech Republic, and they refused, because they travel, they come. The Czech, they come. The Ukrainian, they come. You know, these people still come to Egypt, to Hurghada and Marsa Alam.
Till now?
Yes. They never stopped. They never stopped. Yeah. So you can't impose, they refused to have restrictions to travel outside of Europe. Anyhow, they don't go to Europe because they are not very wealthy, so they prefer, of course, Hurghada and spending the time in Hurghada. And these are the good clients of Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh. Yeah.
So, sir, do you expect that summer will witness some progress in tourism sector, as we can see that vaccinations are taking place all over the world, and we can see millions in the United States are getting vaccinated. So, do you think that this will impact the tourism industry?
You know, to be very honest, we don't expect a serious impact, a start of an impact, not a serious, start of an impact before the third quarter. I mean before October of this year. That's the start. And why do I say this? Because our industry is tied to the airline industry. And the airline studies, all of them from IATA, the international organizations, they say that they will never go back to 2019's levels until 2024. And how will people arrive to Egypt? It's by plane. So, but some airlines, they have extra, and they won't use the capacity they have, because, you know, if you have a plane and you keep it on the ground, it costs you a lot of money. It's like a car. You cannot keep your car in the garage for a few months. You have to
move it,
start the engine, move it for the wheels, etc. So this is the same thing. So they try to find destinations where they can go if their country allows them to travel. So I believe that we will start feeling the impact by the third quarter of 21, and summer of 22, maybe it could be much better, but 23 will be really the start. I'm not saying this because I'm pessimistic. I'm saying this because we go through serious analysis of what's happening worldwide.
And how is the world community dealing with this tourism crisis? How do people manage, how do governments manage to solve tourism crisis in corona pandemic? Or still there is no way out?
I'll tell you one thing, it's a disaster for all countries.
Yes.
You know, they reckon that in France, one of each two restaurants will close because people cannot continue it, cannot sustain it, be closed for a few months now, and it will continue at least until April.
I think that, yes, Paris and France is one of the countries that depend on tourism.
Absolutely, absolutely.
To a great extent, yes.
Yes. Their income from tourism exceeds $45 billion.
Yes.
So it's a lot. Even the United States, the United States income from tourism is $130 billion.
Okay.
Because they are more expensive, and to go to the States you fly, or you go by boat. You cannot go by train. But to go to France from Belgium, you just cross the border. That's why they have more tourists, but less money.
Yes.
They don't spend as much as when you go to the States. When you go to the States, you travel over the Atlantic, you cross the Atlantic. You say, I might as well visit 3-4 cities. You know, if a tourist goes, he doesn't go for New York only. He'll go to New York, maybe Philadelphia, maybe some other cities, because he spent already 7 hours on the flight. So we have to think in this way that everybody is suffering from this. In Egypt, all are suffering. Plus, of course, the biggest problem is the suffering from the lack of Hajj and Umrah.
Yes, I think they haven't taken a decision concerning this.
It's not Egypt, it's Saudi Arabia.
Yes, in Saudi Arabia.
And I'll tell you one thing, the hotel that is just in Mecca, on the border, you know, of the Mecca, the mosque, you know, the occupancy is 3%. Never happened. This is the hotel that was making money all the time, and the price of the... Some other hotels are completely closed in Mecca. So it gives you an idea that it's not Egypt only, it's everybody who's suffering. But I really see my colleagues who are in this type of business only, they are really suffering more than others because they have no diversification and they cannot diversify. So, but what we should do is use this time to train people.
Yes.
Because people are lax now, they don't work. So if and when tourists will come back after one season, hopefully, or 2 seasons, they will have forgotten the work, or they won't have the stamina to go every day and work 8 hours or 10 hours. So you have to keep them busy. First of all, not to think, and then that they be able to meet international standards when things will reopen. So we have to beat the others, and this is one way of beating other destinations if you offer a good service. So I think this is time to build it up, the good service.
So, sir, also you mentioned that it is important to use this time to develop infrastructure and raise efficiency of tourism support. So how can we do this other than making the new speed train, roads? Do we need to develop, renovate historical sites, touristic sites? Or we are already working on this?
Yes, no, there is a very, very good project which is at the pyramids.
Yes, developing the pyramid plateau.
Developing in terms, they awarded the logistics handling to a private sector company. The logistic handling, they are not responsible for guarding the plateau, but for the logistics, they will be responsible. They are buying 26 electrical buses. They are buying 11 microbuses, and they are doing this. I hope it's time now to think, even if they don't operate now, at least the plans are set. They started the tent at the pyramids. If you have, it's open for breakfast and lunches for Egyptians who go there, and they have clients. So I think we should go into this direction. That's for the monuments. But don't forget that we need also the superstructure, i.e. the hotels. You need to lease, to have easier condition to bring in buses, because if you can't move in the country, you have the best roads. If you don't have the buses, so how will you go from one point to the other? And the people who have buses, they are very old now. So we have to think of a way to renovate and put some money in these ventures so that they can be up to date when times come.
And sir, also we have new touristic destinations like New Alhamy city, other places that will be put on the tourism map. We hope, hopefully, when we resume our tourism activities here in Egypt. So how do you see these new places?
I'm a strong believer in Elhamy city.
Yes.
The new Elhamy. Because this new development were made intelligently by putting universities there. And why do I say this? Because university, it means students. Students mean family visits.
Yes.
Family visits mean getting used to the place. So this is a tourist in the future who will not need advertising.
Yes.
He will come because he got to know the place. And one day I was in Kuwait when we had 2011. And 11 September.
Yes.
I'm sorry, 2001.
2001.
11 September. And Dr. Beltagi at the time asked me to go and stimulate travel from the Arab countries. So I spoke to one of the royal family in Kuwait, and I said, I hope we'll see you in Egypt. He said, I have no other place to go except Cairo and Alexandria, because we have a building in Cairo, a building in Alexandria, for me and my family, because we all studied in university, and this is what I'm coming to. And I like to sit on the coffee shop and smoke the shisha, which is forbidden now.
Now, yes, that was 2001.
Yes, but it was the time when he said, I enjoy it more than going to Europe, because I feel these are my old friends that I've met. So this is why I said these cities will create permanent tourists who will come all the time without you looking for them. They will not come through me as a travel agent, but they will come directly to their homes or their hotels or whatever.
Yes, finally, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Elhamy Zayat, tourism expert. Thank you, sir, for being with us today. And viewers, short break, and we'll be back, so stay tuned.